The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Jim Rutherford just shook the NHL up. And to discuss it all, not only do we have myself, but we have my new co-host, Mr. Roberts.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day. And man, oh man, the Canucks season, it wasn't dull, and it ended with a bang in today's press conference. And to break that down, along with the official Canuck fan rankings for the Stanley Cup playoffs, I have my new co-host, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts, say hi to the people. Welcome to Locked On Canucks.
Thank you for calling me Mr. Roberts. It's Deepak Roberts III, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to replace the FanDuel, and I'm happy to bring some justice to Canucks fans. And as a 15-year experienced journalist covering hockey in Utah, I think I'm the perfect guy to, show Vancouver how to win. And here's the connection too, Trevor. I was raised by a single mom, single mom. My dad left early, but apparently he moved to Surrey. Okay, so there's a connection here. And, there's a pathway for me to make you the number one dad in the world. Okay, so that's the goal here. I've done my research on your show, and I've also done research on Jim Rutherford. And Trevor, I think I'm the second person to say this, but I think this guy's lost his marbles, and the Vancouver Canucks are in big trouble.
Man, oh man, I think the press conference from today could go a number of ways, but I guess first and foremost, it was not a dull press conference. There was a lot of takeaways for Canucks fans, but I think Jim Rutherford did save the best for last in terms of his comments about Quinn Hughes. And he was asked the question about, Quinn Hughes, his contract is, he'll be eligible for re-signing in 14 months. How does that affect your long-term plans? And Jim Rutherford was very candid, saying that, we can control the cap hit we give him. We're going to make sure we have enough money to sign him. But he said that he has said before that he wants to play with his brothers, which shouldn't be a surprise, but that does raise an eyebrow when it is your president of hockey operations saying that to the media. But then he took it a step further by saying that him wanting to play with his brothers, that would be partly out of our control, in our control, if we brought his brothers here. And that was the bombshell that he dropped at the end of the press conference. I think it shook all of Canucks media, because that ended up being the last question of the press conference. Maybe Craig McEwen wanted to shut things down before Jim Rutherford got himself in more trouble. And, man, oh man, I think that was a quote that got a lot of Canuck fans excited. I don't know how much is based in reality, but it did give some shades to Jim Benning, who, to the most of my knowledge, was one of the last GMs to get charged with tampering when he got fined $50,000 US for his comments about Stamkos and PK Subban back in 2018. But, like you said, Mr. Roberts, you've been around the NHL for 15 years. Were you surprised to hear comments like that coming from the mouth of the Canucks president of hockey operations?
You know why I'm surprised, Trevor? Because for years and years and years and years, I've had respect for the man, the champion. And here at the NHL offices, where I work, there's a lot of talk about this guy being one of the best executives in the last 30 years. For real. That being said, again, Father Time, in my opinion, and yours, Trevor, you got to touch on this too, because I'm stealing this from you. Father Time ends us all, okay? It really does. And I know I'm only 25 years old. I'm not 32 like you almost, but it's going to get you too, brother. And I think, again, I got to touch on this, and I don't know if I'm being an asshole, but hey, I got to look out for HR. I think Jim Rutherford, again, is losing his mind. How old is this guy? Like, what's his age again? I'm being serious, because it's one thing to say the whole thing about Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes, and bringing the brothers here. Let's bring the brothers here. But it's another to even bring up Quinn Hughes, wants to play with his brothers. And I don't know if Quinn Hughes has like openly ever talked about him wanting to do that in the NHL. And like, dude, just keep that away from the people, from the media. Don't let that be a news story too, because I'm telling you, Trevor, even if he didn't hit that last part with the whole, maybe we'll bring the brothers here. Even if he didn't hit that last part, the first part would have been crazy too. Like, oh man, it's true. Quinn Hughes, like, now it's on public record. He wants to play with his brothers. And the fact that he said that too, if I'm a Canucks fan, I'm scared about who's leading your organization. And I know the other guy you had on, Kyle Bat the Findu, always optimistic, always Deepak Chopra this, Deepak Chopra that. But I'm telling you, brother, the Canucks are in trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Mr. Roberts, because what's more likely is that Quinn Hughes leaves the Vancouver Canucks to go to New Jersey. For both Hughes brothers to come here, it does seem like something out of a pipe dream now. You're basically talking about selling the farm to get those two guys over here. And, Luke Hughes is a restricted free agent, I should say, heading into this offseason. Basically for the Canucks to sign him at, compensation for what he's worth, you need a first and a third to do it, right? To pay this guy probably somewhere close to $7-8 million bucks. Adding him to a blue line that, already is pretty stacked for the most part, and you're going to have to move some guys out. And, look, I think another major takeaway from today, too, were the comments about both Elias Pettersson and Tom Willander. And now, if you're talking about some crazy pie-in-the-sky theoretical trade for Jack Hughes and or Luke Hughes, you got to think that both those guys are included. Now, let's touch on Tom Willander first. I don't know if you heard that one, Mr. Roberts.
I don't want to go there. I'm going to touch on this. Trevor Beggs. You got to start thinking about your family, man. Honestly, man, I'm not from Vancouver. I'm not as loyal as you. I'm just learning about the team, right? As far as, falling in love with the team, got to give it to the people, right? And be a Vancouverite. But you're one of those guys. But I'm telling you, part of me feels like, I know they didn't do well yesterday, but it might be time for you to literally be an Ottawa Senators fan, okay? Do the math too. Story down the road. Come on. Where am I going with this? Trevor, if the Canucks do not acquire Luke Hughes, yeah, I'm talking about Luke. There's no way to get Jack. He's signed to the best contract in hockey. I know he gets hurt a lot. He's a smaller guy, right? But hey, you're not getting him. That's mission impossible. But let's say the Devils, they get, knocked out early. They get whooped by Carolina. I know they don't have Hughes, but let's say they get whooped. Maybe they're desperate enough to change a bit of something and make a big splash, and Luke Hughes is actually on the table. And I know he's not as good as Jack, but just to give us more of a chance to keep the best franchise player you've ever had, I'm going after Luke Hughes. In fact, if the Canucks had all their assets, I don't know if they can give Luke Hughes the biggest offer sheet in NHL history. I'm doing that so that you could keep Quinn Hughes, because when he leaves, Trevor, I've done the scouting reports. I've looked. I went to the office behind me. I opened that door. I opened the cupboards. I'm like, who are the best players in hockey right now? And will it get any better than Quinn Hughes, Connor McDavid, all these guys in the next 10 to 15? I don't know. Where I'm trying to go with this is this. If the Canucks lose Quinn Hughes, there's word around the league saying that they will never get a better player than him. Never. So, Operation Get Luke Hughes. Okay, that's what I'm saying, Trevor. And yeah, Willander, Pettersson, whatever it takes, get Luke Hughes.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not quite on that bandwagon to your extent because, man, Pettersson and Willander for Luke Hughes. I mean, look, you could argue open up the cap space, but, man, oh man, this team needs centers. That was one of the big takeaways from this press conference too. And how are you going to get a center if you start trading the farm for another defenseman? Well, I mean, the Canucks do got to be very careful here. They're in a very tough spot. And, Jim Rutherford knows it. Patrick Alvin knows it. They admitted it today that, it's probably, I think they did the PR thing like they did with JT Miller back in January. They warned Canucks fans that it's going to be expensive, but they're likely going to have to get a center via trade, okay, right? And if you sell the farm for Luke Hughes, what does that leave you with to go get a defenseman? I mean, look, dude, you can talk about maybe trading a Philip Hronek or something like that, but man, oh man, Jim Rutherford said in his press conference today, one of many things that this team needs 3 forwards. in terms of guys who are not on the roster right now. That may include UFAs like Brock Besser, Pius Suter, but you need forwards on this team. And look, I get it. His mission keep Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, but guy trading like Pedersen and Willander. I mean, Deepak, you're starting to match your hair and your shirt right now, man. It's a crazy take.
It's because I'm not selfless and selfish like you. You're thinking about the next couple of years. I bring Luke Hughes in, then I know I got Quinn at least for the next 5. And let's try winning a cup in years 4 and 5. Or, years 6 and 7 of this new extension that'll sign. Because the Canucks aren't winning the cup next year. They're not. Yo, and if they suck next year, they're going to lose Quinn Hughes the following year. Like, he's not going to be around for this. But maybe, he's more patient with the process and not winning a cup next year or not being a contender if his brother's here. Dude, if they lose Quinn Hughes, I don't care what the package is, and at least they'll get a lot for him and they can build a deeper team, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you play in the Pacific Division, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar in the other division. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep this guy. He's that damn good. He's that damn good. Like, he's elite. He's not 90 overall, 91 overall. He's 97 overall, 98 overall. So for me, it's like a 5-year plan. The team made the playoffs twice in 10 years. I'm not thinking about winning the cup next year. Rutherford admitted that the whole plan has shifted. We're not contenders anymore. We traded JT Miller. This is going to be a long process. I'm doing whatever it takes to get Luke Hughes. And you think I'm giving a puck about Elias Pettersson, who Rutherford and Alvin have been talking mad shit about, even again today, practically saying they're babysitting him and they're proud of the 8-hour shift that he's clocking in, right? He's still at the rink today. He's not spending time in the washroom on the toilet like Trevor Beggs while on the clock. Where am I going with this, yo? It's keep Hughes, man.
Yeah, and let's leave it up to the commenters here, both on YouTube Live or wherever you interact with us on podcasts. Mr. Roberts, Deepak Roberts III saying the Canucks should trade Elias Pettersson and Tom Willander for Luke Hughes. And look, I will say this in terms of your take. I don't think I would do that if I was in charge of the Vancouver Canucks. But, I think you chip away slowly, right? If you do get Luke Hughes over here, maybe then Jack gets the itch to come to Vancouver, right? And then maybe you figure that one out down the road, right? That's some conspiracy theory stuff. And man, lots to take away from Jay's press conference. I do want to touch quickly on Tom Willander on the other side, and Mr. Roberts. I know your specialty is going NHL wide. So after we touch on Tom Willander, I do want to talk about my official Canuck fan Stanley Cup rankings. So we'll go around the NHL and rank all teams 1 through 16 in terms of how Canucks fans should cheer for them heading into the playoffs. And yeah, my Ottawa Senators might be pretty high up that goddamn list. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day. Shout out to my new co-host, Mr. Roberts, Deepak Roberts III. We'll be back on the other side of shouting at our friends over at Gametime. Man, oh man. I mean, Ottawa Senators, they played one game so far. Didn't go so great, but better days ahead for them. I think they played better than that 6-2 score indicated. I'm still looking at some Ottawa Senators tickets here for the playoffs, whether it's in Toronto, whether it's in Ottawa, whether it's for round 2. And I'm going to go get those tickets on Gametime, okay? Because Gametime, they got the lowest price guarantee, and they got the last-minute deals, baby, on Gametime. Did you know, Mr. Roberts, that prices actually drop up to 60% with last-minute deals on Gametime? It's hard to find better value than that. Gametime's also got the last-minute deals, the all-in pricing, the panoramic seat views from the app. Oh, baby! And they got Gametime ticket coverage as well. Whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Go download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People. We back doing this, and that's talking about your Canucks. Welcome me, Mr. Roberts III. It's a pleasure to be here, and just more about me. Again, covering Utah hockey for the last 15 years. That's the truth. That that just didn't work on the resume. He got locked on. And yeah, Trevor, we had a 15-minute Zoom chat last night. And yeah, I think you're decent. You're a cool guy. You're pretty good at this. So it's like, oh, why not do this?
100%, man. There we go. And, you got the Utah Grizzlies out there, affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche. They've been doing some things. And, of course, that's why I thought about you, Mr. Roberts, because, there's some Grizzlies ties here in Vancouver. I hear that you actually made love to a Grizzly once. So that explains it.
Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, well, hold up. Obviously, don't lie to the people, Trevor, because I know I'm Deepak Roberts III, right? My dad and his dad, Kings of Utah, right? But I would never beat a grizzly bear up. That's impossible. Okay, I've watched what's the movie Dividends? What's the movie called? Leonardo DiCaprio, Divergent.
Oh, yeah, something like
it
that.
Was
I watched it.
To Kill a Mockingbird. I think that's what it was. To just take the show away here. I don't want to stick to your itinerary because I know we got other press conference takeaways. Pedersen this, Pedersen that, talk at this, practice rank, blah, 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 blah. Can we spend the next 10 minutes complaining about Tom Willander and the Vancouver Canucks to some extent? And the only blame I want to put on the Vancouver Canucks is the miscommunication. Like they're not on the same page, right? Alvin has a press conference, and what does he say? Right? Practically, Willander didn't want the money, right? He just wants to go back to school, go back to Sweden. 20 minutes later, Rick Dhaliwal telling us that no, his agent is saying that he intended to turn pro. So with that, you know how I started off the episode? The Canucks are in trouble. There's something going on. Like this is not some Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cup type operation going on. There's too many holes. Every now and then there's a new hole. But I'll say this about Tom Willander. Your intention was to go pro, but again, the agent is saying this. If we don't agree on a contract that Tom Willander and his family are comfortable with, returning to BU and other situations become possible over the next few seasons. Okay, you're the 11th overall pick, and your agent is opening up about, if my family doesn't feel comfortable about the contract, it's an ELC. So if I'm a Canuck fan, I'm like, you know what, Tom Willander? Get out of here.
Damn, bold take, Mr. Roberts, but it does seem a little bit dire with the Canucks and Tom Willander right now, which is not often you hear that coming from an NHL general manager about, he's leaving a lot of money on the table. His intentions to go back to school. I think you hit the nail on the head there, though, that this does not seem like the Stanley Cup winning Pittsburgh Penguins operation from almost a decade ago now. It does seem like the cracks are showing this foundation with Alvin and Jim Rutherford. And look, Tom Willander does seem like one of the most likely trade candidates on the Canucks right now, especially based on those comments. So we'll see what transpires there. Of course, the Abbotsford Canucks haven't started their playoffs yet, but with no Tom Willander in sight, it seems less and less likely that he will get those playoff games in the AHL this spring. Now, I think we'll talk more about Tom Willander potential.
Wait, that doesn't piss you off? So Tom Willander doesn't just like that situation as a Canucks fan, you're not fed up about this shit. Like, you're really going to miss a guy like Tom Willander who hasn't played one game with the team and he's moving like this as an 11th overall pick, even having his agent create some noise on his behalf. Or if my family doesn't agree to this, it's an ELC. There's some bonuses here and there, but it's about the money. Before you played one game in the NHL, it's 2025. This is a whole different era. Player empowerment, whatever. But dude, I don't want any of if I'm a Canucks fan after what I just went through, and Mr. 11.6 is already acting the way he is, and JT Miller did too, all that. Like, I don't want another guy like this in the dressing room. No way. I want all the guys to be like Quinn.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And look, the squabbles is probably about $500K in bonuses, right? The Canucks don't want to go into that, $500K ceiling, what they've done with Kermacki, and a lot of guys coming in like now, like Z Buiam from Minnesota being one of them. His Schedule A bonuses were closer to $1 million. So if they're really squabbling over $500,000, it does seem a bit crazy to me right now. Both for the Canucks to kind of draw their line in the sand, like, oh, whatever, it's just $500,000 that he may not even hit. And from Tom Willander's point of view too, I see your point completely. How this guy hasn't even played one NHL game, based on his trajectory, he's going to have a long NHL career. So why are you squabbling about, $500,000 in bonuses that you might not even hit? It seems kind of wild from both sides right now. But again, cracks in the foundation showing for Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin. And one more point on the Hughes comment, then we're going to cut to break, go NHL wide with the Canuck fans Stanley Cup ranking list here. The comment today about Quinn Hughes, wanting to be in New Jersey, but they could acquire the Hughes brothers. It does seem like a desperation type move from Rutherford and Alvin. Like, this guy, he's said to us that he wants to play with his brothers. There's a good chance he leaves. Let's get desperate and try to get his brothers here. Like, that does seem like some pie in the sky, last gasp kind of situation there. And look, this wasn't the plan for the Canucks. They didn't want to trade JT Miller. They said as much today, but they traded JT Miller. They've gone from a contender to being back in the mushy middle, being in transition. And now it's like, oh, shoot, Quinn Hughes might leave. Let's try to get his brothers, right? Like, this does not seem like the Canucks have once become a farce, man. We had one good year, Kyle Bowen and I, and then the Canucks' pathetic nature drove him away from the show. And now I'm glad to have the fun-loving nature of Mr. Roberts here, man. But yeah, unbelievable.
I'm not fun-loving. I'm telling the truth. And, that was the problem with your show, Trevor, before I got here. You and Kyle, way too West Coast bias this, West Coast bias that. It's 420 every day. Peace and love. Let's hug each other. Dude, I'm telling you, what I saw today, bro, you think that type of leadership is going to fix Patterson too? Like, it just seems that there's very little control over this situation. Now, again, things can change, but just way too much noise. It's like I'm watching a reality TV show and some like soap opera, and it's coming from the top. It's not the media. It's not the microphones. It's not the fans. It's from everyone.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. And look, I think there's more Canucks stuff to touch on as we get through the week. I mean, so many takeaways from the press conference today. So give them to you in bite-sized chunks here on Locked On Canucks. Of course, break any news that may break. They mentioned a Rick Tocchet contract maybe coming down the pipe this week as well, or not. Lots up in the air in Vancouver. Never a dull moment. But let's get to break here. And, before we get too deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs, I did want to debut this list as the Canuck fan Stanley Cup rankings for the 2025 playoffs. No other opinion is correct other than the one you're about to hear on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day. Going NHL wide with Mr. Roberts on the other side after shouting at our friends over at Amazon Fire TV station. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? For a 31-and-a-half-year-old like me, man, oh man, that blew my goddamn mind. But you can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to rock and roll. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, NHL 25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and more. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube, the 3rd Gen. And let's go, baby.
Okay, we back doing this. And that's talking about the most dysfunctional team in, I'm going to say NHL history. Like this year? No, honestly, it just don't stop. And what are the chances with the whole Tom Willander thing? It's like, what, are you serious? Are you serious? And Trevor, I know we don't have to move off of it because we got to talk about these rankings, but why do you think Alvin and Willander's team can't even come to terms with the communication? Like, how are we going to present this? Because why is Alvin saying something that's completely different from what Willander is saying 30 minutes later? Like, whoa, how is it that broken already? You just admit it. Alvin should admit it. Yo, like we couldn't come, to terms on the contract this summer. That's it. But now all this lying, that creates even more bad blood between these two people. with
Well, I
these
think
two
you got to
parts.
remember too that there's a chance that Alvin's not lying and that Willander's agent could be saving his client face, right? I mean, I think Rick
Oh
Dahlwell
my
does a lot of good work
God.
in this market, but he's often an agent mouthpiece too, right? So there's a chance that Alvin was telling the truth and that Willander's agent was like, whoa, 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 I'm going to protect my client. Let's say something else. So we just don't know who's telling the truth in this situation, right?
He's an
And
11th
look, we
overall
don't know
pick.
exactly what happened with JT and Pedersen. Like, there's a lot of unknown in this market right now, but I don't have a firm answer for you because it's the first time we've seen it not really work out in Vancouver with the top prospect under this regime. It worked out fine under Lecker-Mackey, right? His season ended. That's under the contract. He got some AHL games in. There was no drama there. But I don't know. It just seems like the Canucks are engulfed in a cloud of drama this year. And, from our perspective, Mr. Roberts, it gives us something to talk about throughout the week. But I want to put pause out here and get to the official Canuck fan Stanley Cup rankings for 2025. All right, so Canucks fans, again, team's not in the dance this year. You still want to watch NHL hockey, so who do you cheer for? Okay, I got the official rankings for you right here on Locked On Canucks. So I have them broken down into tiers, okay? And the first tier, I have I guess Canada can break the drought tier. And first, I have the Ottawa Senators. Shout out to Travis Green. Shout out to Travis Hamonic. A couple ex-Canucks there. Shout out to Quinn Hughes' best friend, Brady Tkachuk. Plus, they're playing the Leafs, so man, oh man, I'm rooting for Ottawa to get it all. Plus, the hometown of my wife. So I'm firmly on the Ottawa bandwagon. In second, I have the Winnipeg Jets. And in third, I have the Montreal Canadiens. I'm okay with any of these teams, but the Winnipeg Jets, obviously, they've never won a cup. Montreal's won a lot, so I got Winnipeg ahead of Montreal. Let me get to 4 and 5, and I'll let you chime in here. So number 4, I have the root for the old guy tier with the Washington Capitals. Look, I got no beef with Ovi. I'm not really believing in them right now. But if they end up beating Montreal, I'd be okay to see them go on a run here. A lot of good vibes around that team. And at number 5, bringing it back to the Canucks, I have the should have owned the Canucks tier, and I have the Dallas Stars number 5. Shout out to Tom Gillard. He should have been the owner of the Vancouver Canucks, but here he is running a pretty darn good franchise down there in Dallas, Texas.
I know, man. Where's your loyalty? I could see why Kyle would leave you. Not the people, but you would leave Trevor Beggs. Talking to you every day, it's like talking to insanity. How do you have Montreal and Washington next to each other on these rankings of who you'd want to, see win the cup when they're playing each other in a couple hours? You know what I'm saying? It's too close. It's too close. Two likable teams, though. All right, and I think for me personally, I would have Ovechkin at number 2 and Ottawa at number 1. Just me. I like Brady Tkachuk. He could be a face of the league. Handsome dude. NHL offenses talk about all the time. This is the face of hockey. Ovechkin, same thing. But yeah, just Trevor, just a little misunderstanding there. I think I may have to look at who you have at 3 and 4. All that being said, too, I'm surprised Colorado isn't higher on your list because I'm just a big McKinnon fan. Big McKinnon fan, a big McCarr fan. Those two are just so fun to watch, and I'd much rather have those guys win than Draisaitl and McDavid. And I know they're at the end of your list, but those two mean a lot to the game too.
Yeah, oh, there's some bitterness to me about Cale Makar, mind you, doing some more brilliance in the playoffs because I want to see Quinn Hughes be the best defenseman in the world. But Colorado's pretty high up the list, and in fact, they are next on the list at number 6. It's the Joe Sakic vibes tier, the Colorado Avalanche. So yeah, I'm rooting for Dallas over Colorado, man. Shout out to Tom Gillardy, but the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, look, they're not really on the hate list by any means. But yeah, I've seen enough of Cale Makar letting up the hockey world. I want Quinn Hughes to be the best defenseman, so I don't really want to see Cale Makar go on another magical run. That's number 6. Okay, let's go through the next couple ones. At number 7, I have at least they care about hockey here tier. Some U.S. fan bases, they can be a little skittish. Okay, they cheer for the teams through the good times, but at number 7 here, the Minnesota Wild fans, they cheer for their team through thick and thin. One of the best fan bases in the league. I don't really think they're going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights, but I'm hoping they can pull it off. The number 8, firmly in the middle because it's the I have no feelings about them tier. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't really root for the Hurricanes. I don't really root against the Hurricanes. They're just a team that exists. I don't really need to see another Southern team win a Stanley Cup. The Cup's been down there for far too long, in my opinion. Bring it back up north, but not to Edmonton and Toronto. Thank you very much. So Carolina at number 8 on the list. And let's go to number 9. Next up is the St. Louis Blues. It's the still bitter tier, the team that's in the playoffs at the Canucks' expense. Yeah, I'm hoping Winnipeg beats them, but there's other teams that I want to see lose more than I want to see the St. Louis Blues lose.
St. Louis, man. Again, I just got here, Trevor, but how could you not be jealous? Because in the beginning of the year, in September, I'm sorry, you're looking at the Canucks lineup and you're like, yo, we're way better than St. Louis. You're looking at that game in January that arguably changed the Blues' season when we whooped St. Louis and Brayden Schenn wasn't happy, you know? He was questioning his franchise. You're like, yo, the Canucks are way better. Man, oh man, I know St. Louis collapsed in that third period against Winnipeg, but you never know. They could win a round or two, and as a Canucks fan, what a season. Like, look, I can't believe what happened. I can't believe what, and the NHL offices and Gary Bettman, they can't believe it too. But they're happy because the Canadian dollar sucks. Whoa, wait. You know what, Trevor, continue.
All right, so that was 6, 7, 8, 9 Avs, Wild, Hurricanes, Blues. And the next tier, it's the not Florida again tier. And I have at 10 the Tampa Bay Lightning, and at 11 the Florida Panthers. Look, you know, I'm too bitter as a Canucks fan. I've seen too many Florida teams win before my team, so I don't really want to see either of these teams win again. But you know, Florida just won last year. I don't need to see Florida repeat, so I got Tampa just slightly ahead of Florida on the list. At number 12, this is the most interesting one to rank, and it's the Quinn Hughes bandwagon tier, and it's the New Jersey Devils. I initially had them a bit higher up this list. Look, I liked the Devils when I was growing up. I even had a Devils hat back when Corey Schneider was there.
Whoa.
But Mr. Roberts, I'm so used to Kyle being here, man. Unbelievable. You mentioned it earlier on, but if New Jersey bows out early in round one, maybe they feel the need to make more drastic changes. And I think as a Canucks fan, that's what matters most. You want to see New Jersey get a little skittish, maybe get a little bold, maybe get a little stupid on the trade market, because that's really the only way that the Canucks are ever going to land a player like Luke Hughes or Jack Hughes.
This is what I want happening, okay? I want the Devils beat. Completely butchered in 4 games. 4 games. Okay? Fuck the Devils. And then after game 3, Sheldon Keefe is like, you know what? The reason why we lost today was because of Luke Hughes. In fact, I don't even know why he's here. And then you healthy scratch him for game 4. Boom, bam, you wreck the relationship. Boom, bam, Tom Willander, salary dumping Elias Pettersson for Luke Hughes. And you keep Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, okay? Trevor, you said you're losing your hair too. That's why you're always wearing hats. You need Quinn Hughes to stick around, and we need the Devils to suck ass.
We do need the Devils to suck ass. So that should be I hope the Devils suck ass tier, but I did name it the Quinn Hughes bandwagon tier. Okay, the last 4. Come on. No Canuck fan is cheering for any of these last 4 teams on the list. First, I have the knots in my stomach tier. At number 13, I have the LA Kings. At number 14, I have the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, the Vegas Golden Knights won pretty recently. I don't want to see either of these teams win, but I'd say I want to see the Vegas Golden Knights lose a little more than I want to see the Kings lose. Partly because the Kings are playing the Oilers in round 1, and the Oilers are at the bottom of my list in the vomit-inducing tier. So number 15, I have the Edmonton Oilers, and last on my list, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mr. Roberts, I don't know.
Wow.
You got some Canuck ties here. I don't know. I personally, I get the Leafs at the very bottom, okay? They're playing my Ottawa Senators, okay? My Ottawa Senators, the number 1 team on my list. I want to see Toronto lose. And look, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs coverage has been insufferable for a long, long time across Canada. I don't know if I can live in a world where the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup, but I don't want to see either of these teams win. But I'd say if it is an Oilers-Leafs final like Charles Barkley predicted, I think I'm holding my nose and cheering for Connor McDavid and his greatness to come home with the cup. But
I'm hoping for an earthquake. If that's the case, I'm hoping for an earthquake. I mean, not an earthquake. I'm hoping for my Wi-Fi to not work, so I don't got to watch it. That's what I meant. Trevor, I don't know how you don't have the Oilers last on this list. I know you did the math. You're Battle of Ontario. You're in Ontario in person now. I get it, but it's ironic, right? 12 months ago, I did the research. You and Kyle saying, I guess 11 months ago, the Canucks could end the Oilers. Right? Game 6, Game 7, all we need is one more win. We could end the Oilers. And you fast forward to the now, and somehow, some way, when the Canucks window was just opening, they ended us. Like, they caused this. They caused this rift between you and Kyle and made you into a shittier person. That made, again, you know Kyle was going through a lot of shit. You never called them more than 3 times a week. Anytime you did, it's like, oh, what do you want to do on Locked On Canucks today? So Trevor, I'm here just to make sure, again, you become a better father and a better leader. Speaking of which, we didn't read any comments today, but again, that's on Trevor. I'm trying to help him out. We'll get there. We'll be more of a comment-based show. Begsy, thanks for bringing me in. Sign us out.
All right. Shout out to the people here on Locked On Canucks. Get more comments another day, but we appreciate the hell out of you and you for tuning in. From everyone, from the everydayers to the first-time listeners. Mr. Robert, shout out to you. Good debut on the show. Man, oh man, I do feel like I'm on acid looking at your hair and your shirt right now, but that is another story. I'm down to go. I'm going to go lie down after this, man. I mean, you were a lot to take in today, man, but it was a good time. Again, the Canucks, never a dull moment here. Apparently, we're training for the Hughes brothers or the whole team's falling apart. That is the mantra of your Vancouver Canucks right now. We got you covered through all the chaos here on Locked On Canucks. So if you like what we're doing, go subscribe and like on YouTube. On the podcast side, go follow us. Leave a 5-star review. Help me keep my family together. Help me save my friendship with Kyle Bowen. Help me create this new friendship with Mr. Roberts. But for now, we got to get out of here. That guy is Deepak Roberts III. I'm Trevor Beggs, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.